us. And I want to begin perhaps by asking Mr. Dean a couple of questions. Sir, when you came forward, which was before the United States versus Nixon case, you didn't write an anonymous op-ed, did you?
No, I did not.
You came forward.
Actually, I did send my only discussion with the media was having my secretary read a quickly dictated line to get to my superiors. They were making a mistake if they were going to make me the scapegoat of their activities.
In effect, you announced to the world what you were going to do.
I did.
And to your superiors.
Yes.
And the result was a bombshell.
Yes.
And the United States versus Nixon case produced evidence that corroborated the evidence that you had provided, correct?
Well, I had testified, I believed I had been recorded. That prompted the Senate staff to ask Mr. Butterfield if that was possible. He said it's very possible and very likely. The special counsel filed immediately for those tapes, the tape cases, and the fight in the courts started. The whole dynamics of Watergate changed, and it became all about obtaining the tapes and whether they would corroborate or not my testimony.
And I can remember vividly the picture of Alexander Butterfield revealing those tapes. And it was also a bombshell, correct?
July 16th, 1973. It was.
And we could go through the history here, but where I'm going with my points is that it wasn't just, or maybe even primarily, the United States Supreme Court in United States v. Nixon. It was a number of individuals who had the backbone and guts to come forward, whatever motives at the time, and speak that truth to power, correct?
Yes.
So we tend here to talk about the law, about U.S. v. Nixon, about a unitary president, about all kinds of concepts that mean little to the American people, but we're talking about basic courage to stop a constitutional crisis.
But this system is important to those who do want to rely on it.
There is now, arguably, a cancer on the presidency as malignant and metastasizing as there was then, correct?
Yes, I would agree with that.
And the only way to really stop it is not by relying on laws alone, but on people respecting the laws, taking acts of personal courage, and coming forward to speak that truth to power. Would you agree?
Even with anonymous op-eds.
Even with anonymous op-eds, which could lead others to come forward.
Yes.
Non-anonymously.
Yes.
But cases are not built on anonymous sources. Eventually there have to be witnesses willing
True.
to testify and speak that truth to power. You have said that your belief is that President Trump would never resign because he, I'm going to paraphrase, is shameless. I think you've used something like
yes.
it. Would you give us, in your view, your analysis, knowing Richard Nixon as you did, the reasons why he resigned? I suspect it had something to do with the fact that he saw impeachment coming, and he was told by Hugh Scott and Everett Dirksen that he lacked the votes in the Senate to avoid conviction. But let me ask you your...
It was very much the fact that he was going to lose in an impeachment battle, that the House would impeach and the Senate would find him guilty and remove. That appeared to be the case. But I think also Richard Nixon had done something that made it very awkward for him. He had pulled people aside and told them a falsehood that he had had nothing to do with the cover-up until I had told him about it, which was a flat-out lie, and he had been caught in that by the release of the so-called smoking gun tape. But even more basically, I think he left because the man at his core had a respect for the rule of law. That's one of the differences I find today in Mr. Trump, and the reason I don't think he would resign. He could care less about the rule of law.
And ultimately
Thank
also,
you.
just
If you
one
could
last
begin to
question.
wrap up. Yes, sir, Senator. Go ahead. One more.
Ultimately also, it was those Republicans in the United States Senate who delivered the message, we won't stand for it.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.